Hello everyone, it is I, Stellywig, also known as Stelzig, hooray, hurrah. Today is going to be a very special video because we're going to be going over bosses. Specifically, Dragon, my favorite. I despise this boss with a passion. Is by far my weakest, and that's because I don't have enough troops, but let's talk about it. So, let's go to demo. As you can see, this is my Stellywig formation, also known as Dargon. How to explain. So, you might notice a couple things. Obviously, lots of imps, yes, very good. That's what you need in every single boss. You'll notice I have bone breakers, 1 assassin, 1 lava golem, and 2 headless. And you might be asking 2 questions. Either, why do you have empty spaces, or why do you have those troops in your arsenal? And, you know, good questions all around. To give myself a little bit of credit, it's because this is what works for me and this is what gives me the best damage. It took me 2 minutes to figure that out. Why? I got lucky. And then this man named World Union Hans had to ruin my idea, so I had to start from square one. But either way, figured it out. So some of you might be asking, what gives the most damage in this formation? Well, obviously, it's going to be the imps. Why? Okay, this is annoying. Thank you. It's going to be the imps. And I think a lot of you might know the answer to that. Obviously, the single target damage is really high, but this isn't what I want to discuss. I want to go over this boss, its timings, what heroes you can use it with the save formation. I know a lot of people have different forms. I know a lot of people have different shit. Because I have a ton of level 9 troops, but someone might have a ton of level 10s. So things kind of just like, you know, fluctuate. You know, less damage, more damage means less damage especially. So let's do a demo of what Dragon would look like under my set of circumstances. Obviously turn auto off. So I try and use the ability as early as possible. Now for Dragon, the moment you see those little flames disappear, that's when you use the ability. The little fire sparks. Then you use this ability as soon as you can. Now, depending on how well you timed it, like for instance my timing was kind of awful, but you protected most of the troops. That's the point. Now, what most people might do is leave, but I wait for these guys to hit. Also, I don't know why bone dragons take damage. Don't mind that. And then now, I'd use my ability as early as possible here. That way, Remus can't die, because, you know, you have to make sure he doesn't die. If he dies, then you're cooked. Now, you go as fast as possible. That way, Remus doesn't die. Did Remus die? He did not. But then here's a tricky part. Timing this part. How would I do it? When I see the swing. Unfortunately, this wasn't done very well, as you can see by half of my troops being fucking touched. But as you can see, some of my imps stayed alive, and you might notice why. But I won't redo that because the point isn't for you guys to, you know, criticize my run. It's for you to see what a good run might look like. And then again, you leave at the last point, a little bit too late, but yeah, no. There's the damage. 88. That is much lower than what I actually get. I get a lot of that. But, as you can see, like for instance, these guys died, right? And then a lot of these other troops also fell. But, you'll notice that the goal is to keep every imp alive. If you could do that, you can score more. For me, I score more than 101 million if I do that properly. And then for the damage, you can see. See, this one died really quickly. This one didn't. As you can see, big difference in numbers. This one, none of the imps died. So, as you can see, you can kind of see where I messed up on the damage. But the goal is to essentially keep the imps alive as long as possible. Now, this is what the best setup would look like, is not with imps, but with the axe throwers. And then instead of You might want to use the other hero, but the reason why Bone Dragon's so good is because you can keep him alive at the end. Now, something I wanted to test out with players is what if you don't have Remus? Now, a lot of you might go to Lirio, but I think Drake is better because more people have access to him. And what I would do is I would use his ability immediately. You know, let the dragon do the same thing. You leave as late as possible. And right here, you might want to use the ability as quickly as possible. So right here would be a good one. And then he's going to swipe at you. So Drake will take a lot of damage, but that's fine. Okay. And then you wait for it, and then you retreat. And then when he sucks back up, you use the ability again. You want to use it at this moment. You want to delay it a bit, actually, because you kind of wasted some of that bullshit. But either way, you run back. Run. Drake didn't die. Good job. And then you use the ability as early as possible. That way you can get the damage in. And then when he slams, you use your Bone Breaker ability, obviously. As you can see, all my imps died, unlike before. You get an extra hit in, you run away, and then you do the suck, and then you just play everything else as normal as what I described earlier. You breathe in, breathe out, blah blah blah. You do that, and then your imps die. You use Bone Dragon ability, you retreat, and do it so on and so forth. I'm gonna cut it short because, you know, I really don't want this to drag on, but I could do this for a minute, whatever. 64 million, not that bad. I mean, there's an obvious difference between Remus and not Remus, but the main difference is all my level 9 imps died. None of them survived, so that is the difference between having Remus and not having Remus, and the damage is pretty mediocre. But yeah, that's essentially what the goal is. What you also could do, if you really wanted to, is L'Oreal. However, I hate this woman. I hate this woman so much. So first, you gotta do this stuff, obviously, and you still want it to be auto. You do the same tactic here, run back, boom. And then now here's the hard part. Keeping this woman alive. So you use this ability early. Why? Because that's the only time you could use it. And then she dies, right? And see, this is the problem with that hero. She dies far too quickly. And then you use everything else as normal. And then boom. So, compared to, you know, let's just say Drake, I think this did a little bit better. We'll see after editing, but yeah. It's around the same, essentially. But you get the gist, right? Yeah, even less damage, actually. So, L'Oreal is worse. This is what I mean by she is not the best hero. If you have Drake and L'Oreal, it works, but it's not the best. You know? What's another hero you might see being used? Oh, Claire. Easy, right? Obviously, I have her at level 6, but most people don't. So, I'm going to use the ability as early as possible, and we'll do the same thing with the mouth. Boom. Leave when you fucking see that shit disappear. And then he's going to slam. And then you use the ability immediately as that happens. That way your melee troops can kind of live a little bit longer. And then you go here. Then you use it at this moment right here. And the reason why you want to use it late is because you want to time it like right here, essentially. You want it to be used when that hit happens. See, because I was a little bit too late. Oh, but there you go. Now you see why you want to use it a little bit later than most players. So some people don't know about this, but because of that, everyone stays alive a little bit more, And if you would have timed it even better, all of the imps would have been alive. But as you can see, really, really strong. And while this is happening, you know. Ooh. Can I pop it off? Ooh, everyone's dead. Yeah, everyone's dead but the woman, the guy, the dragon. Either way, as you can see, the damage has increased. Now, you might be wondering how much healing she did, and obviously she does a lot of healing, but a couple of these troops in the back died, but you get the idea. You want to delay Clara's healing ability as much as possible, that way the most amount of imps can survive, and then do it again. Now, to be fair, in order to start doing this with Dragon, you need to be level 7, because her cooldown is 1 second quicker. So you can actually, you know how I died because I was a little bit too late? That would have fixed the issue. And not only that, but the perk would have, you know, been slightly better. But as you can see, the damage is lowered, but the main goal essentially is to keep all of these guys alive. And in reality, at level 7, like, you're supposed to keep her alive as long as possible. I think at level 7 you could do that, but I don't know. I'm not strong enough to tell, but obviously that is the play. That's how you want to do it. Why am I player 11777? Whatever. Either way, that's what you want to do with Clara, right? As you can see, there's a lot of testing that needs to be involved, and I bet a lot of people didn't know that, but Clara's usable. You just have to have her high enough, so basically unobtainable for the regular viewer, if that makes sense. What's another hero I could use? Tristan, I think? Let's just say we do Tristan and Bone Dragon. I mean, most players have Bone Dragon. Maybe you could do Tristan and Drake. Like, you could do something like this. Let's just do something very easy for newer players. So obviously, you want to use these at the same time. The moment it leaves, you use that again. Tristan has a quicker cooldown, so I'm just going to spam it as much as I can. So as you can see, and then use that ability as quickly as possible. Tristan will die quickly, but that's fine. And then you leave as late as possible. And you use the ability now, actually. I should have delayed Drake ability a bit more because I'm wasting a bit of damage, but that's fine. Drake stays alive, so that's all that matters. You retreat again. Hopefully Drake doesn't die. Drake did die, so my ability usages weren't good enough. But you get the idea. All of this plays the same, right? And as you can see, less damage than Bone Dragon, which makes sense. Bone Dragon is kept alive for a long period of time, but I'm sure if I would have kept Drake alive, I think this score would have bumped up an extra 2 million. Or sorry, not 2 million. Yeah, I would assume around 2 million because I get to use an ability again and all my imps get stronger. So I think an extra 2 million here, there's enough room for that. But essentially the goal is still the same. The hardest one is with Clara because it requires a lot of bullshit, which is timing. Same with Remus. I mean, we can go over Remus again for everybody. Let's see if I can get a better score. If I can't, well, I just suck. I don't know. I think I just suck. There's nothing more I could say. Bone Dragon level 9. Okay, let's redo this. Obviously as early as possible. Sucky, 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 and then boom. You leave now. And then you spam this as much as you can. Try and get this as early as possible here. As you can see, everyone is protected, which is a great sign because that means it has a lot of HP to spread around. Very nice. One more imp throw. There we go. Use it as soon as possible. That way Remus could get hit only once. And then you try and leave as soon as possible. Good. Some imps die, but that happens. And then right here is when you want to use it. I think that covered a lot. See, that covered a lot more. And you use Drake ability. Yeah. A few less died. But you all see the point. And then you back down. Never back down, never what? Never give up. And then you leave the moment you see that disappear again. No imps died, so that means I timed it perfectly. This was slightly worse score, but again, y'all see what the goal is in mind. I think the reason why I did worse this time around was because of the other imps dying too quickly, but there was 2 runs I did where none of my imps died, which is the goal. But it's very hard to get consistently. The fact that I could do it once is pretty good, but the fact that I did it twice is really, really good. Like, none of my imps died here, right? So, as you can see, you can tell which imps died early, which are this guy, and this guy. The rest of my imps seem to do... oh, these 2 as well. Like, these. Anything that's yellow or orange died, right? But only 1 died here, 2 died here, essentially. Because all my imps stayed alive, but... you know, I missed out on around, if you were to calculate this, I believe like 6 or 7 million damage I lost because I didn't perfectly time it. But, you know, that's what you get for having level 5 Remus. But also, that's what you get for, like, I could have done it earlier than I should have. If I would have done it earlier, I'm sure I would have done better with it. But the timing is stricter for a level 5 and a 6 Remus than it is a level 7. Because the bubble disappears quicker, which is the big reason why it's so hard. But, you know, now you know, right? That is how to play with heroes, with most of the usable heroes. I know I didn't use all of them, like Bjorn. You know, I didn't use Bjorn. I didn't use Anavin, which I don't know why you'd use Anavin, but whatever. I didn't use Dragon Rider, which is good with the new troop, but, you know, not usable. But yeah, to be fair, the only hero I didn't really use that would be worth it is Bjorn. But treat him like you would Drake. But I would say anything that can run, time the abilities to keep them alive for long enough. Usually that's the case with legendaries. With epics it's different because there is nothing to keep them like, it's not worth it to keep them alive unless there's an extra ability you can use. But like Remus, it doesn't matter, just keep him alive to use 1 ability, right? Clara, keep her alive to use 1 ability, and then for legendary, just keep them alive as long as possible. With Lyriel, it's very difficult, but it is possible. Lyriel is not the best troop. I mean, the best hero for bosses, to be honest. Like, once you get Remus, Lyriel is just flat out worse. Don't use her. If you don't have Remus, she's fine. I could show you timing, but honestly, it's so annoying to the point where I'm not going to show you players it because why the fuck would I? It's not a good timing. It isn't. It's so inconsistent. I hate this boss, and Spider and Kraken are far worse theoretically, but I just hate it because I suck. But yes, I hope this helped. I hope you guys understand how to deal with Bazaar the Dragon. What the fuck is his name? He has a name. Balthazar. Yes, my favorite sucky blowy. I think I might later on. Oh, wait, I gotta play the music. Wait. Yes, the best fucking soundtrack in the game. Since I appear as player 11777, I can look through this, but while we're talking, oh my god, is that World Union King of Myths? Wait, what? I hope this video helps. Once we get to the Spider and the Kraken, we'll talk about more things. Obviously, this video is meant for education purposes. I do not expect people to think I know everything. Obviously I don't have everything in my arsenal, so things would be difficult. But it was a fun figuring out this boss, even though I hate it a lot, because it's the only boss in the game that I'm generally hindered by my troops, because I've never gold farmed until recently. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Goodbye.